All right. Well, it is a brand new year, 2019, and I'm really excited about 2019. I don't know if you've taken time to think about the new year coming up. I think most people, to varying degrees, as we go through all the busyness and craziness of December, start thinking about the year ahead. Now, some people who have businesses and organizations that they run, they start thinking about it much sooner. And as I'm going into 2019, I have spent more time this year thinking about this new year, about my personal life, my personal goals, my organizational goals. I've spent more time than I ever have in the past. And here's what's interesting. As I spend time thinking about that and planning and going through that process, what I've noticed is I've also taken time to look back at my past. I've taken time to evaluate some things about my life and some things from the past. So I think when we look to the future, I've come to realize that as we look to the future and we make plans, there's a great passage in the Bible that says that unless the Lord builds the house, we labor in vain. So I've also spent a lot of time praying because I don't want to build something that God isn't in, that God isn't leading me in, because if I build that, whatever that is, whether it's related to my personal life, my family, or my organization, LifeBridge Ministries, whatever it is, I want God to be the master builder. And I'm really just there to hammer the nails, and I'm there to, put the foundation in and do those kinds of things. It's super important to me. But as I do that, one of the questions that came up for me in this planning time in my life was, in the past, when I was allowing God to be part of the master builder and be part of that plan, I look back on my life at those times and those projects that I engaged in, those seasons of my life, big ones, small ones, all different sizes. I look back through that time and I specifically went to those things where I felt like I really let God lead me in those things, and they were very successful. I learned a lot of things about myself. And I looked at those things and I asked myself the question, what was I thinking? What was I doing? How did I manage it? And I found several things about myself and that fit into every single thing I did successfully. The way I built teams, the way I communicated about what I was doing. Super helpful. So I want to encourage you to take some time. It's not too late. It doesn't matter that it's January and it's already started. I want to encourage you to take some time and look back over your life. There's different names for what I'm encouraging you to do. Some people call it a peak performance profile. I call it a life performance profile. Look back over your life and ask yourself the question, pick out at least 4 or 5 things that you did well, that you felt were a huge success. And they don't have to be super big things. You should find something in the work field as well as personal life. They can be something as simple as, for me, for example, something as simple as a team you coached to a championship, or you coached it and you felt good about it. It could be something like a missions trip that you put together and you led. It could be a short-term missions trip that you went on, and you were put in charge of something on that trip, and it was a home run. So look at those kinds of things, and then go back and look at the things that were held those together. What was common to all those events? What did you do? What were you thinking? And how did you manage them? And you're going to learn a lot of things about yourself, because part of the reason I'm encouraging you to do that is it's going to tell you something about how God made you. God designed you and me to do things a certain way, because we will always follow the pattern inherent in the way that we were designed. It's very difficult for a frog to be a bird. A frog's going to swim and follow its pattern because it was designed that way. You and I have a unique design. It's related to how we see the world, how we process information. It's related to the things we do well, our gifts and strengths. I tell people this all the time. If you want to know what your gifts and strengths are, look at the things you learn easily. Look at the things that you really enjoy doing. And to some people, they may seem like silly little things, but there's valuable information in knowing that. Look at the things you deeply care about. What are the things in the world around us that we deeply care about? Now, we go into this in our Identity and Destiny Conference, which is coming up in March 8th to the 9th. We're doing a 2-day, Friday night, Saturday, Identity and Destiny Conference. We're going to address each of those 3 things. So I'm just going to mention that to you, because if you want to go through a 10-hour wonderful process, you'll know more about yourself by the end of that conference. And you can sign up for that on our website, thelifebridge.org. You can also go to our Facebook page, The Life Bridge, and you can, in as short a time as you can imagine, really, relatively speaking, it's a very short period of time, you will know more about yourself, how God designed you, and how that fits, and it's trying to guide us. It's trying to guide us toward a path of destiny. We have things about us that have been criticized. We have things about our personalities, the way we do things, the way we think, that throughout our whole lives, in some situations, we've been criticized for the way we do things. And it's confusing, because you know what? God actually made you to do it that way. God made you to think about it that way. But if you're not aware of it and you're just acting out of blindness, it will prevent you from being able to discover and follow the path that God uniquely designed you to follow. Here's what I love about that path. If you find that path and you find the courage, when you find the path, you have to find the courage to follow it. So when you find that path, and it's oriented towards the things you deeply care about, and you get to use your strengths and gifts as you follow that path, and you get to pursue that with a whole heart, you're going to have to find the courage to follow it, because you're going to have to overcome the critical things that have been said to you throughout your life, the negative things where people have criticized you for actual gifts that God's given you. Everybody who follows their path of destiny has to overcome the fear that keeps them stuck and keeps them from following it. How do I know that? Because I talk to people all the time. In my counseling, in my coaching, everybody I ever see and meet and talk to at every level of my life, the question that I have for everybody is, do you know what your path of destiny is in this life? Do you know? And then I start asking them, do you know what your gifts and strengths are? I would say easily 8 out of 10 people stare at me when I ask them, what are some of your gifts and strengths? And they might mention maybe 1 or 2, but they're not sure. Well, I'm not really, they'll say to me, here's what I hear a lot. I'm not really sure what my gifts are. I'm not really sure what my strengths are. What are the things, here's the other question. What are the things in your life you deeply value? Deeply value. And they have to sit and think about it a little bit. And they jump around a little bit. They're not sure. What that means is, what this season that we're in right now, we're calling that being self-led. It means they're not really leading themselves. Being self-led means I'm going to take responsibility for my gifts, my core values. I'm going to take responsibility for my passions. And I'm going to take responsibility. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to acknowledge them. I'm not going to wait for somebody else to give me an award or some kind of, recognition for what it is that I'm good at. And my goal for everybody is to get to a place in their life where they can say, boy, these are the things I deeply care about, and the gifts that I have to do something about it. These are the gifts and abilities, the way I think, that they have a deep level knowledge and understanding of knowing this is why God made me this way, why I think the way I do, why I see the world the way I do, and I feel great about it. I'm not afraid to let that shine out of me, because it is that part of you, it is that part of me that is the brilliant part of us. And when there's fear and intimidation and insecurity that's trying to block it, it's what keeps us from that path. And I would say about that path is that it takes risky faith to walk on that path, because you will experience resistance. You will experience attack. But the more people in your life that live out of a risky faith and pursue the adventure of destiny in their life, the more people you have like that around you, the more likely you are to experience the adventures that God has for you on that path. So I'm going to end it on that note because I love that. I love influencing people towards adventure. Let me just say it that way. I love that because God designs adventures for us in advance so that when we show up, we get to experience them. That's just such a cool thought when you think about it. So I'm going to kind of end it there, but I do want to mention, well, that's it. I'm going to end it there. And I hope you have a chance to, if you have any questions or thoughts about this, you can go to our website. You can catch up on things that we're doing there currently.